At this point, the realization is, oh my gosh, this guy is following me, like legitimately on the knee. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here because I know there's 1,000 other places for you to be, but you chose here to be here with me. So thank you. Okay, so today's video is actually going to be a little interesting. It's actually a story where I almost got abducted, like legit abducted, like taken in the middle of the night, and no one would have known. So essentially what was going on is I was in a relationship at the time and we had an apartment together. And I was in college, so I was taking classes, and a classmate that I had actually lived right next door. When I say that they lived right next door, it's my apartment at the time and her apartment, like next door neighbors, but apartment complexes, very close. So I was also working full time at Whole Foods at the time. So what had happened was I had a shift, which was a closing shift. So the shift was, I want to say 2:30 or 3 to 10:30. So let's just say it was 2:30 to 10:30. For sure got off at 10:30. Remember that. So at the time, the guy that I was dating worked very late nights. So I had let him know, I was like, hey, you know, I work late tonight too, but as soon as I go home, I'm going to go next, like just change and then grab my stuff and go to Alyssa's. I got home after work, so at this time it was probably around 11, 10:30, 10:45 or 11, because that was the time I got off. So I got home, I got all my school books, I changed into comfy clothes because I was going to be studying for hours. So make my way to the apartment complex, the other apartment complex. When I tell you that it is less than a minute drive, if not 1 minute, 60 seconds to get to her apartment, I don't want to stress that more. Those instances where you say, hey, I'll just see you later, see you in 30 seconds, that was that moment. Like, it was that close. So I get there, Alyssa lets me in, we start studying. By the time I left, it was probably almost 3 in the morning. So 2:30, for sure it was not 2 yet, because I remember specifically thinking like, oh my God, it's almost 3 a.m., I have to go. So with that being said, I'm done studying, I packed my stuff up, and I got ready to head downstairs. My intuition was already telling me before I went outside, like, okay, Yolanda, it's 3 in the morning. Like, prepare yourself and be aware of your surroundings because it's 3 a.m. And my dad and my parents, both my mom and my dad, always had this saying that nothing good happens after midnight. I didn't learn that till then. So I come out of the apartment complex. I immediately get on the phone. Like, my friend Alyssa watched me walk. She lived on the 2nd floor. So she watched me walk down from the 2nd floor to my car. In the midst of walking to my car, I had already called my boyfriend and was telling him like, hey, can you just stay on the phone with me till I get in my car? Already being cautious, okay? Step 1 and 2. My friend watched me walk to my car. On the phone with my boyfriend at the time, hey, can you just stay on the phone with me till I get in the car, right? Like, this is an act of being self-aware and being proactive and being safe. So I'm on the phone with him. He is letting me know, okay, I'm actually home now. And I was like, oh wow, you're home, because restaurant/bar, the bar doesn't close till 2. Sometimes he wouldn't come home till 3:30, 4 in the morning. I turned my car on, and you know when you turn your vehicle on, you can hear it dong, dong, like everything's turning on. So he finally said, he was like, well, I hear you're in your car, you're fine. This is the moment. I'll see you in less than a minute. Okay, less than 60 seconds I should have been home. The moment that I hang up the phone, I could already see in my rearview mirror that there was a single cab truck parked in my rear view. So I'm looking at my rearview mirror, and directly behind me, like here's my car and I'm facing forward, he backed into his parking lot spot and I could see. I noticed that when I turned my vehicle on, it immediately caught my eye in the rear view because I saw like somebody moving in the car. You can see somebody moving. So I saw him moving, and then sure enough, he turned his car on, and I'm like, that's a little freaking odd that you're gonna turn your car on exactly at the same time that I turned my car on. Red flag. So I was like, kind of like, we're the only ones in the parking lot. It's 3 a.m. What are you, okay. So I turned my car on, he turned his car on. I turned my lights on, he turned his lights on. And I was like, okay. Then I was like, lock my car. The car was already locked because I had hung up with my boyfriend. So at the time when I'm figuring all this stuff out that I see him, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going home. So I get I get myself together and I'm like, forget it. If he is trying to follow me, it's gonna be known whether or not he is or isn't, right? So I just reversed my car. What would y'all do? Like, continue with your day, right? So that's what I did. I reversed, and where I was at in the apartment, it really was, here was my parking spot. You go through a row, come through, and then there's the exit, right? So something in my head already told me, don't go to the exit. Play a game with him. Not necessarily play a game, but it was to reinforce what I was thinking was happening or not. So I'm like, okay, if I skip the exit, is he gonna skip the exit too? If he skips the exit, more than likely his intention is to follow me home. So at this point, I am just going into a fight mode. Like, I'm not gonna let this guy make me afraid. So I do that. I pass the entrance on purpose to see if he as well was going to pass the entrance on purpose as well. Sure enough, he passed it. And at this point, I'm like, I'm gonna go around one more time. Like, this time I'm actually gonna exit. So I passed my exit, he passed the exit. I'm going back around the same place that I started. He is too. And when I'm driving, because I'm sure y'all are gonna ask, like, was he riding your ass? Was he so close to you? At this point, no. I purposely skipped my exit, and then this time I'm like, you know what? I'm actually gonna go now. I'm going to go home. I'm not gonna fuss with this anymore, and if he is following me, I'm gonna figure it out. So I go around the second time, and this time I actually make my exit. And on the road, when you exit, there are 2 lanes. So I should have turned into my closest lane, which is less than the 10 seconds that you exit that apartment, you immediately pass a resident entrance to my apartment. Not the actual main entrance to my apartment, but a resident entrance. So if you have a clicker, it'll open for you. So I was supposed to be in that lane. And again, here is my intuition just kicking in, like, okay, is he actually following me? Because if I get in this lane, will he get in this lane? So sure enough, I exit to the furthest lane on the left, and he does too. And at the very last moment, I did not signal, I did not do anything. I opened the gate, and I went inside, right? He did too. And at this point, I'm like, there is no effing way that you live in that apartment and this apartment, and that you have a clicker, and that you're just gonna come visit somebody at night, right? At 3 a.m. So when all this is happening, I know that in films and movies that we've, growing up, you see like, oh my God, you made the stupidest mistake. It's human reaction to a scary situation or something that gets your adrenaline going. You're gonna mess up. And I tell you this because I've experienced it more than once. Like the whole falling when you're scared, totally done it. And like this moment right now. So I switch into the right lane and I cut through and I'm clicking my clicker, the gate opens, I come in, he's coming in. I am going 45 miles per hour in an apartment complex at 3 a.m. And at this point I knew that what he wanted was me. And I knew that he was following me, and to go 45 to 50 miles an hour inside an apartment complex is making yourself known that you have a purpose and you want to take me. So in my head, I'm like, there's no fucking way that I'm gonna let you take me. If God forbid that you do, I'm gonna fight. So at this point, I am speeding in my apartment complex and I'm freaking out. I'm probably already crying. God forbid, but if it were anyone else, I don't know if they would have been as street smart as I was. So at this point, it clicked. I am being followed. This guy wants me. He's alone. And at this point, I have already been able to tell. I didn't know who it was, if y'all are gonna ask me that. I had no idea who it was. It was a stranger to me. But I could see now in my rear view, like I could make a description. He was a tall Caucasian man. He was bald and he was probably in his late 50s, if not earlier mid 60s. And he was driving a single cab truck, which is just the 2-door trucks. So I'm starting to like get a description in my head. I'm speeding, so I probably sped around the apartment complex 2 or 3 times. And at this point, I'm like, you know, I'm gonna park. I'm just gonna park. I'm gonna park and I'm gonna turn my car off and I'm gonna lay down and he's not gonna see me. So I turned my car off, and I do this because, you know, when you like fully turn your car off, everything turns off. Well, in the panic that I was talking about earlier, how you're making mistakes when you're scared, I had not fully turned my car off. So when I went to park, my foot was on the brake because I guess I didn't put it in park. A lot was going on. So I like throw my seat back and I'm like, is he gonna find me? Like, is he gonna find me? Is he gonna find me? Is he gonna find me? And then at this point, I'm like, you know, scurrying to get my phone, and I'm like, I'm gonna call my boyfriend and I'm gonna let him know, like, what can I do? Can he come help me, please? Like, so finally, I'm like, I don't hear him. And then all of a sudden I hear a truck pull up, and he literally parked right next to me. When I tell you that someone wants something, they're gonna go after it. This guy had no care or worry about making it known or to scare me. Like, he didn't give a shit that he was scaring me. So he pulled, my car was right here, he pulled in here. Obviously I'm in the driver's side, so there's a space to his passenger and then his driver's side. So he pulls up right next to me, okay? At this point, I'm playing out like, okay, so you want me to get out of the car, and when I get out of the car, that's your moment. But at this time, he was on the phone. And when I tell you, this was the most creepy part. And I don't know why I'm about to get emotional. It's stupid to get emotional. At this point, I felt alone. And I felt like, what can I actually do to help myself? So then I got mad. I was like, you know, piece of, you know what? You're gonna freaking do this to a young lady, 24 years old, like you hear about it all the time. And at this point, like I got angry. And I was like, you know, not today, sir. Today is not the day. So I get on the phone, and instead of just laying back in my chair to be a coward and pretend and wait for him to come knock on the door or try to take me, I pop back up in my seat, I pull it, and I have my phone and I'm trying to call my boyfriend. And he's not answering, and I'm like, great. And so while it's ringing, I look at him, right? Like, I kind of even roll my window down. I don't know if this was the right thing to do. Maybe I was putting myself in more danger, but at this, it just felt right. So I put my window down, and I could hear my mom in my head, let them know that you see them. Make eye contact. I'm like, you know what? I'm angry. Why are you following me? So I crack the window down, I have my phone, and I'm like, why the? are you following me? And I'm like looking at him through the window, like just, oh, like fury. And I said, what do you want? And he just looked at me like it was just matter of fact, like business, right? He's on the phone. And so I'm like freaking out at this time. I'm like, oh my God, he's calling someone. So it's like, is he on the phone to have someone come help him get me? Is he on the phone to have the place ready for when he arrives for me? Somebody on the phone is helping him with this, like, or I don't know what he was doing on the phone, but I know it had something to do with what he was trying to do to me. Finally get in contact with my boyfriend, and somebody's following me. I was like, please help me. And he's like, where are you? Like, obviously, for your person on the other line to hear their significant other be in danger, like, obviously there's a ton of questions, and at the time you don't have time to answer. So I'm like, just come outside, I'm parked. And then all of a sudden something happened, and I was like, I'm gonna honk my horn. I'm just gonna honk my horn. It's like, my boyfriend needs to find me. So if I honk my horn, maybe somebody will come outside. Maybe it'll deter him and make him scared. It can only help me. And I'm like, whatever I do, I am not getting out of this car. So then finally I would just lay on my horn. Like, when I say that I laid on my horn, I laid on my horn. It was just like, I feel sorry for anybody who was sleeping, because that night I woke up the entire apartment complex. So I laid on my horn, and eventually I'm still screaming at him, and I hold my phone up like I'm talking to 911. I was like, I'm calling the cops, and I'm still laying on the horn, and I'm like, burr, 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 and telling him, like, they're coming for you. And that was the moment that he reversed and started to leave. And then finally, like, my boyfriend came out, and he found where I was. Then he was like, what car is it? And you know how gates open up really slow at an apartment complex? The guy was waiting for the gate to open. So my boyfriend actually caught up to him in his own truck and, like, went to try to talk to him and confront him, and, like, punched his car, kicked the car. And the guy was just, oh, it's so creepy, just nonchalant. Like, I don't care that you're kicking my car. I don't care that your girlfriend was scared. I don't care. I'm just leaving now. I'm leaving now. And he even did that. And at that point, I came up. I drove my car because I found my boyfriend and the guy outside. And I parked my car, and I'm walking towards my boyfriend, and the guy was just, could care less. And then finally the gate opened, and he left. Just sped off. And we tried our best to get the license plate. And again, when you're in a freaking frenzy and scared to death, I think you get a combination of the letters and the numbers, because that's what we did. We didn't get the exact one. But at the time, we had a friend that worked for a car dealership. And when you work at a car dealership, you can look up and pull up license plates. So long story short, we called the cops, we involved the cops, put the report in, but we didn't have the exact license plate. So the cop took our information, he took this, my statement and everything, and that was it. We went back upstairs and had a very rough night of me crying and going through all these emotions. But like I said, we had a friend, like a couple weeks later, that we finally figured out the right combination, the order of the letters and the numbers for the license plate. This is the icing on the cake. So he potentially pretended that he was a prospective buyer for a vehicle, which is a total lie. So he was actually able to pull up the license plate and see the guy's address. This is the part that completely sent chills up my spine. He actually lived like 5 or 10 minutes from Whole Foods. So when I found that out, it made me feel and understand the severity of the actual situation. Like, this guy was probably watching me. Like, Maybe he had been watching my moves for a couple weeks the day of. Like maybe he was at Whole Foods when I left and I had no idea. Maybe he followed me into my apartment and saw that I was alone and didn't seize his opportunity yet because too many people were out. I don't know. But yeah, he lived right around the corner from where I work. I honestly feel like, I know this is scary to say out loud and even to admit to y'all, but I honestly feel like 98% of me feels that if I didn't do the things that I did that night, the outcome would have been very different. Well, with that being said, I just want to give y'all some tips, what worked for me and what continues to work and what stuff I actually do. My opinion is, if you are going out at night, have pepper spray. If you are going out late at night, let somebody know that you're out and where you are and who you're with. If you're going to your car and you are alone and it's nighttime, it's probably not a good idea to put stuff in your trunk or in the back of your seat, because that gives people an opportunity to see you. Just like, have your keys in hand ready when you get to your car. Don't wait a long time to be shuffling and scuffling through all your things to be able to get the key out. So those little things, me calling my boyfriend to let him know where I was at and who I was with, calling him when I was actually leaving, having my friend watch me walk to my car, being self-aware the moment I got into the car. I mean, the car is immediately locked. Just paying attention to my surroundings and looking and understanding that, hey, there's somebody back there in my rearview mirror that looks a little off. Chances are you're probably right. Just be proactive. Don't live in fear, but there's plenty of things that we can control, and there's 100 million trillion things that we can't control. This night was something that I had control over. I had control over myself, my actions, what I chose to do. What I didn't have control over is what this guy was trying to do. What was he trying to do? Yeah, so those are my tips. That was my scary story for y'all. It was real. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I almost got abducted and I could have been taken and not been here today. I'm so happy that didn't happen, and I'm so grateful. But yeah, I just wanted to say thanks again, you guys, for watching. I know y'all have plenty of other places to be and other things to do and watch, and I just wanted to say thanks again for watching my videos. If you did stick around to the very end, can you guys leave a secret word, which is cowgirl? Comment in the section below, just so that I know that you made it all the way through and we can like have our little groups. So thanks again so much for watching, and please comment, like, and subscribe.